there, folks. Welcome back. Draft Wars has returned, and it couldn't return with anyone other than this man. It's a guy that has shots to success in the Football Manager community. It's Zealand, the Canon Shannon. Zealand, how you doing? Brilliant.
Hey.
Brilliant.
Hey.
I mean, we could have planned for that, couldn't we? That's terrifying. So then, Z, the format of Draft Wars. It's been a while since we've done one. I've played Jack. I've played Kev. I've beat one of them. I've lost to the other. I lost to Kevin. Can you believe that? I mean, that is painful, isn't it?
That's just PTSD all over again.
And I beat him on his own channel, so, embarrassing for him, really. We're back up with you. Of course, the format, you get to pick the terms of the draft, and this is the first time I'm going to find out about them. So how do you want to do this? What are we going to be taking on in Draft Wars this time around?
So rather predictably, I was given like an hour to think about this, honestly, but I've put some thought into it.
Okay.
I have decided to test Ben's knowledge of my home continent. We will be drafting exclusively CONCACAF players. So anybody from the CONCACAF region, as in Gold Cup, as in CONCACAF World Cup qualifying, as in both of the Virgin Islands are available, so you can take any of those players if you want to. Yeah. Cayman Islands, Turks and Caicos, Antigua and Barbuda, who I have seen play live, by the way. Everything else would be pretty standard, max budget, 90-second draft clock. So we're going nothing weird there. We're drafting CONCACAF only players. That's what we're doing.
Test my knowledge. Is your knowledge pretty good on this pool, I suspect?
I'd like to think it's better than yours.
Yeah, I'd like to as well. Yeah, I'd like to as well. All right, then we'll set that up and we'll get into the draft in just a moment. Welcome back. We have listed a whole host of nations, about 10 nations from the CONCACAF region. You are confident. I can sense that already, right?
Yes, yeah, because mainly the way that listing the nations went is you just asked me like what nations have good players. Yeah. So I got to warm up my brain thinking about the Dominican Republic has Mariano, so we should probably get them in here. That was a good warm up exercise for me. I already have my mental short list. Okay, so if you can hit ready, we'll go forward. And here we go. I've got first pick. Huge for me. So this works. It's funny, right? We just both end up getting double picks over and over again because reasons. What I'm realizing, we're going to create two super team CONCACAF sides here. How many players are we picking, by the way? Let's just go 18.
18 players. All right, noted. Okay, no other things to do. No goalkeeper restrictions or anything like that. We're just going all in, right?
Yeah, I don't think we need to make this too weird, considering we're already only drafting CONCACAF players.
See, now I could mind game here massively and go Pulisic straight away, but
you could.
I think I have to. I will go for Christian Pulisic. Over to you. So throughout this, I want you to talk through some of your draft picks, but I'm going to ask you a few questions. Get a bit of for those that don't know Zealand, we'll treat it as a bit of a get to know more about Zealand. What's wrong? Is it the Pulisic thing? Yeah. Would you have gone Pulisic?
Of course I would have gone Pulisic.
Yeah, I kind of do that.
My hero.
But we've got a lot of experience drafting these days. This is not uncommon for us, right? As you've gone Leon Bailey.
Leon Bailey.
Yeah, he's super good. How do you enjoy drafting? Because it's quite an American thing, drafting. I feel like far more than it is over in England. Of course, we've done loads of showdown stuff. How do you feel about doing the drafting when it comes to doing football drafting, or is it so common in your makeup these days that it's easy to adapt?
I never really thought about the fact that the draft would have been more foreign to you. I took Alphonso Davies too. Figured I'd get those lads. But I feel really comfortable with the drafts. I've done it both ways. I've come in super prepared, and I kid you not, I have come in getting ready for the draft and asking you, I think, hey, what are the parameters? And I'm pretty sure the time that I won was one of the times that I did that, where I just didn't have time to prepare. Something was going on with school, and I jumped in right before the draft started and was like, hey, what are the parameters? Did the whole draft, won the whole thing. I've definitely won the league before doing that. And so I do feel really comfortable in the drafts. I feel like it's all about rolling with the punches, but I feel the preparation is most important. Finding those couple of players, I think it's Thomas Souček that every single time. Thomas Souček is just a great move because these incredible value players that when you're normally looking through, you just wouldn't find.
I was gonna say it's interesting because I feel like your approach is very different to the way we all approach it. That's just because of like the way in which we're taught and shown football will be probably really different to yours. So sometimes you take picks that we're all sitting there like, why is he? What's he doing? But at the same time, like, you've been pretty successful. You are one of the winners of the Streamer Showdown. I got a question for you though, because we've seen Lelujo win quite a few of these, and it's infuriating. And how much stock do you put into how random it all is? How much of what he's doing is skill? I've gone for 2 centre backs, by the way. I've gone John Brooks and Hugo Ayala. So, you know, using my drafting knowledge.
I see the strategery going on here.
Yeah, it has to happen, mate. This is the way I roll. But how much stock do you put into the way it happens peer to peer, and the way you compete peer to peer? And how much of it is luck, basically? What percentages would you put on it, if you could put percentages on it, to luck and skill when it comes to these Streamer Showdowns?
I think that it is 60% skill, 40% luck a lot of the time. Now winning 5.
So you think it's more skill than luck?
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting.
But winning 5, like Lelujo has won 5.
Yeah.
Even if you do everything right, I mean, like everything right, which I know he hasn't done, right? Nobody can do everything right. But I didn't mean that because nobody can do everything right.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's funny as it sounds.
It is funny. It is also very funny, so I'm happy with it.
Yeah, and so even if you do everything right, you shouldn't win 5. He's won 2 penalty shootouts in finals. Like there's a hint of fortune to his ability to win as many as he had. This is kind of a funny draft too, because I hate the Mexican national team. Like that is our derby times a million. But
you've got
I've always
10 seconds.
admired how good Hector Herrera is. So I'm gonna take him. I've always rooted against him so passionately that it's a little weird. It's a little weird for me to like take to actually draft him. Also, McKinney scored today, actually. McKinney scored today.
No, I was literally hovering. Over McKinney. So
I
feel
can't
like
take all my American boys.
I was going to say, I feel like now you've done that, I have to. I had no intention of getting Giovanni Reina, but now, because of what you've just done,
come on,
I have to make the move. I'm sorry to do it. And him and Michael Bradley is an American dream. So
I can't take Michael Bradley.
No, what's the Michael Bradley problem?
He inhabits this weird space, and I don't know if you have a player like this, maybe for England or maybe for Liverpool, where you respect him as a captain and like you appreciate what he's done, and on paper he should be a legend. He's got 150 caps for the US national team, and like he's scored, and it's not just that. I don't know if you've ever seen this goal, but if not, you should look it up. He scored the best goal any American has ever scored in the Azteca, which is the mecca of our like national team. The whole barometer is, can we go to the Azteca and win? Which is where, Mexico City. And he scored like a 40-yard chip in the Azteca. And I remember I was on a plane for some reason when that goal was scored, and my dad and I were just like jumping around the plane. But at the same time, and that's not even the only huge goal he scored. He scored an 83rd minute equalizer at a World Cup. Like he's just this, he should be a talisman, but he's just such a huge choke. He's a job. Like through and through, he just makes dumb mistakes all the time.
I have to bleep those words out. Job on my channel. So it's such a regular occurrence that I feel like I should start bleeping it when other people say it here. It's a regular comment. It's interesting though. I don't know if there's a player like that. Who are you going for there? Sorry,
I'm taking Memo Ochoa.
Yeah, because I took Navas, so I forced you to do that. You see?
Yeah, he's better than Stefan, I think. Still.
Oh, don't say that. He's one of your go-to guys, Zach Stefan. You always draft him.
Who I wish was in this game was Daryl DK. Yeah, I think he's in the game, but he's not very good yet.
Okay, I don't know who that is, but I sort of laughed as if I did know.
He has 8 goals in 14 matches at Barnsley.
Oh, well, okay. So I feel like I definitely should know.
You know how Barnsley is sneakily in the promotion playoff right now in the championship. It's been a lot of Daryl DK.
Okay,
doing that.
I love this knowledge you've got. Who's your next pick? What are you looking at, formation wise, system wise?
I've been looking at Atiba Hutchinson and Jonathan David a lot. I feel like I'm going to go Jonathan David here. I need to get forward. What I'm worried about I'm worried about center backs, honestly.
Yeah, I tried to call the market.
CONCACAF is not blessed in center backs.
So who are the next 2 center backs?
For the US, it would be Long and Miazga. but I really don't know who. Mexico doesn't have any great center backs either. Apparently, there's a dude named Edson Alvarez.
Yeah,
I don't really remember.
What I've decided to do, and I've never done this in draft wars, is I'm strategically going to take the next best 2 centre backs as well.
Yeah, and this is why I'm never telling you anything ever again.
No, but this is. I mean, I'll be honest. I was trying to get information. This is all strategy. Okay, so you would definitely take someone like Walker Zimmerman because he's very good aerially, and you would use that against me. So I'm going to take him as well. Don't need those centre backs. Don't need
Walker
him.
Zimmerman is just terrible in real life. I just don't like. Yeah, I just don't like him in real life. I'm taking Miazga then.
Okay.
Take the beast that I know. The guy who's like 25 and's been on Chelsea his whole career, but he's never played for them.
So how much do you enjoy back to showdowns, right? Because we've done it a lot. We don't talk about it that much. I mean, we'll talk on the podcast. We'll talk about the podcast in a bit. But in terms of taking on other creators, how much do you enjoy it? Because I've played you. There are very different ways to play Zealand. Like sometimes you get a very serious Zealand that is not wanting to talk to anybody, and sometimes you get like a fun-loving Zealand. So like we will come back to so the way the format goes in the showdowns, if you've not seen it, is we will play in a match room where the 2 people taking part will talk to each other, and then it will come back into a main room, and the person sometimes will go, Zealand just hasn't spoken to me. So why? So because you take this game more seriously than most, I would say, but because that's the way you enjoy it the most, right? I think most of us took a while to understand that, but we do now. So how much do you enjoy playing other people? How much of it is like I want to beat you, and how much of it is we're all having fun here?
I am really competitive. I think that's what this all kind of comes back to. Like if I'm playing, I have only brothers, right? We play tournaments when I go home, and we have all these different games. We have ping pong, air hockey, we have basketball in the driveway, right? We have 2-on-2 touch football in the yard, with American football. Yeah. And we create these brackets, foosball, like for all of these sports, and we play a round robin, and then we play a knockout tournament, and we determine a champion in each pool, like billiards. So it's just this constant competition. I'm taking Brian Ruiz, Costa Rican legend, who I honestly thought had retired, but here he is. Bobby Reed. Like Bobby Reed. That's what it all comes back to, though. Is I'm just so competitive. And so even in something like Football Manager, where you're not actually controlling the players, I'm just very, very, very locked in to trying to succeed. I don't know why exactly that's the case. I've kind of always been like that. I get in trouble. I played basketball most of my life, and always talked a ton of smack and try to like. And I could usually back it up. I was very naturally athletic when I was younger, and I could dunk in high school and those sorts of things. And I remember in fraternity league basketball, we had this game where we're playing, and it was a knockout game, and the other team had already won. And if we won, we played the next team. And we were down like 4. And it was one of those games where instead of playing for time, you're playing for score. So it's like the first team to get to 21. And we were down 4. And we were down like 17-13, and you had to get to 21. And this one guy who was on the other team was just sitting there, and he was just chirping, and he was chirping, and he was driving me crazy. And so I got the ball in the corner, and I just remember this because you just have those moments in your life where you're like, wow, I'm never going to be cooler. And I get the ball in the corner, which on a basketball court is kind of close to the end line, and this guy's just talking. And I kind of looked at him. I was like, you're next. I just said that out loud. In the gym, I was like, you're next. I scored the next 8 points. We won 21-17, and then we beat them in the next game. And I was just like, this is the cool, like, I just hit back-to-back threes on that. It just gets me going. Like the talking smack and the problem, though, that I've discovered is when you are talking smack and you're playing basketball or American football or soccer or whatever you're playing, you can get that boost from it physically. You get that extra adrenaline. Like
you get to show it, right? You get to show.
Like,
you get to show it more so than you do in Football Manager. Sort of.
Yeah, in Football Manager, you can't. So I've really had to try and mellow my actual talking smack in Football Manager because I can't guarantee that I'm going to back it up.
That's it, right? That's the fear, right? Because and that's something I certainly play on the line of. So I will, like I think you all know by now, I will probably talk the most amount of shit.
Oh, a ton. Yeah, that's
of anybody. but like good spirited though. I hope people understand. Like it's not done with malice. It's done in like the name of entertainment, which is a bit yucky. But you know what I mean. Like I'm doing it because I want people to feel invested in what we're doing, and I want it to matter to people. So people either want me to win and be on my side, or they want me to lose. And it's like it's just a fun moment, right? I want to see you lose. I want to see Jack lose. I want to see Kev lose, right? Like I've got like those natural rivalries with those people anyway. Do you think you'll grow out of that? Because I think I was very much like you. Growing up, I was the most competitive kid on the playground. Like I didn't want to lose anything. But then the older I got, and the more other things probably began to matter more.
Can't believe Dest is still available, by the way.
It was on my shortlist, but I got Loyun, so I was happy. That started to fall away from me. Do you think because of things like the showdown and because of your life experience, you are mellowing out as you get that little bit older? Because you're in an industry that depends upon you being electric at all times, right? To be engaging at all times. So you have to keep that edge to you. But at the same time, like there's the more human side of you rather than this like animalistic winner. Do you think you'll slowly fall out of that, or do you think like that's always going to be you?
I think that I just find different ways to direct it. I mean, I it's not like I have a temper or anything. It's a very slow fuse, but I take slights and internalize them. I internalize slights, perceived slights. I'm not comparing myself to Michael Jordan here, but I know that in everybody's watched.
I think he is, viewers. I think he's about to compare himself to Michael Jordan.
He's not. But
so when I played for the Bulls in the late 80s. Anyway, go on.
I was about to reference like a Jordan story, and I wanted to say, look, I'm not Michael Jordan. But the thing here is that there's this story from The Last Dance where Jordan just like invents this slight that he receives from somebody. And that's kind of what I do to motivate myself. And so I remember in probably right when I started streaming, I sent messages. I didn't know how Twitch worked. I didn't know how YouTube worked. And this all goes back to me kind of redirecting my intense determination to do something, to be something. And I just started sending messages to people because I found out about this thing called hosting. I was like, oh, you can get hosted by bigger streamers. Well, like, how do you get into bigger streamers' good graces to get hosted, right? I didn't know that that's really not a relevant way to grow or anything. It sounds on surface level, right, when you start doing something like this, like something you'd want. So I sent messages to a couple of people. I remember one of them was Clan. And so I sent a message to Clan. And I was like, hey, man, and this is the sort of message that if I got now, I probably wouldn't answer.
Yeah.
And if I did answer it, I'd just be like, hey, I would have answered it the exact same way that Clan did, where he was like, hey, I really only raid streamers that I know. Right. And it was a completely normal answer from Clan, who's still streaming, right?
Yeah. I think, we should say Clan is a follow Football Manager streamer.
Yeah, he is. A very long, kind of tenured one. I think a guy that was around, maybe, certainly, he was having a 2-year partner anniversary right when I started streaming. So I know he's been around forever.
Yeah.
The point is, I sent him a message, and I was like, oh, Brad Guzan is still in the game? Sorry. I just said, hey, could you host me or whatever?
You sent that to Clan. You said, oh, my God, Brad Guzan is still in the game. And he was like, yeah, I'm not going to reply to that. And you used that fuel.
Yeah, that's what drove me. No, I sent him a message, just say, hey, man, can you host me? Like, what I would love to do. Typical of me, and a lot of the messages I sent at this time sounded like this. I was just like, I will do whatever you need me to do for you to host me. Like that. Like, yeah. I just, I would be super over the moon. Whatever. I really only host people that I know as streamers. Like, completely reasonable response. But at the time, I got super offended by it. I was like, oh well, I'm gonna show him. That was basically it. That was the whole thought process. Was I'm gonna, I just get all fired up, ruffle the feathers, and like, there'll be one day, right?
Yeah.
One day.
But do you feel like I guess you probably do, right? I think you're probably you may be the most followed Twitch streamer for Football Manager. You are up there with the YouTube guys now. Like you're hunting down Work the Space is how I message him when I say it. I go, Zealand's coming, not Jack. Zealand's coming. Just little messages to him. Do you feel like at what point on like a scale? I like to sort of do this. I like to put it on a scale. Where do you think you're at now in terms of what you thought you'd be at when you started, like, or not started, but when you had this almost like vendetta attitude to everything, to where you are now, or where you want to be, I should probably say. Where are you on that scale? Are you halfway up it? Are you like, do you still feel right at the bottom of it? Do you feel like you're getting to the place you want to be? Because I think your motives, like, it's interesting, right? I feel like a lot of people know your personality through Football Manager, but they don't necessarily know what drives you. And maybe that's something we can unpick more on the podcast we do, which is 20 Good Minutes, link in the description. But maybe that's something we can unpack more, is that at what point would you feel like you've done it? Because I had a moment like that, which was really detrimental to me when I sat in Central Park and thought, I've managed to fund myself being in New York, and this was the dream 10 years ago when I sat in a field with Ellie and we talked about where we want to go in the world. And that then became a case of, oh, I don't get that moment again. So I had to create a new version of like what I could be and how I could do it. Where are you on that scale?
I don't think I have struggled with. I'm not a person that has a lot of personal struggles. My life has been pretty good, right? Like, and I've had girlfriends and we've broken up, and that's probably the most significant drama that's existed in my life. And I feel like you've got to be aware of that at some point. So I always think it's important to be aware of your privilege. Like, I don't hide from that. Like, I know the reason I'm able to be a streamer, the reason I've been able to go to college, the reason all these things have been able to happen is because I was born into an upper middle class family of two parents that love each other, and a family, an immediate family anyways, that doesn't have anything really wrong with it, right? Like, yeah, everybody's great. Everybody's healthy, right? Like, there's nothing that's really torpedoed anything. It's important to remember that. But the one thing that I have always struggled with, and I've debated this in like the endings of relationships and stuff, is it's like, I am always convinced that I'm not there yet. And I've started to become worried that I will never get there, which at certain points is not a bad thing. I feel like people that really accomplish great things have this weird motivation where, like, I don't know if it's like a Napoleon syndrome where you're just like, you always feel, not that you don't belong, but you always feel like you're failing, or you always feel like you're not achieving which you could. Or I'm worried about settling. I'm so worried about settling for anything.
What? But because you feel like, why? I mean, I was going to suggest why, but why?
It's because when I was like 6 years old, Ren and I would talk to people. It's like, what do you want to do? And it's like, well, I want to be the richest person in the world. I want to be the most famous person in the world. I want to have everything that I want. Those are my answers to those questions. They were always my answers to those questions. And I was so convinced that was the only thing that anybody would want, that when people were like, oh, I want to be a dentist and like have 2 kids and grow old, that I was like, why? You know, that was my question to them was, why? Like, you don't want to, like, you don't want to have 5 houses. You don't want to, you know, and it's not that I want to like hoard all this wealth. I know there's a very eat the rich sort of thing. I have a very Mr. Beast part of me. Like, I give money to homeless people, and I love essentially making people's days. Like, the experiences where I have been in positions where I am famous, whether it's I'm broadcasting an important game where if I turn around, like I did a men's basketball game for Virginia, which is a top 5 team in the country, was at that time. And so it's a sellout game. There's 35,000 people in the stands, and I'm the guy that's on the camera broadcasting the game, you know, with the lights in front of them right down by the court. And there's this little kid behind me, and you're able to turn around from that. Like, you turn around from the desk and you just like say, hey, to the kid, and, you know, wave at them. And that just made made his whole week.
That's lovely. Yeah, and in turn, it makes
able to do that.
It makes your week as well, though, right? Because of the way you approach it and the way you see it. That's as good for you as it is for him. In that you feel like, again, you're motivated by your own desire to be the best, and also your desire to make people happy, which is the perfect combination for a YouTuber. We should say, because that might be confusing people, if you don't know, that Z comes from a commentary background, from a broadcast background, and while we're on that topic, right, and this is becoming very more podcasty as it is, as much as it's like Football Manager Draft here, is that how much of it, because I get this question a lot, right? How do you start? What models do you follow to become a Football Manager creator, right? Which some people have an interest in becoming. Lots of people watching will not, right? But but I don't know if you've answered this question before, but how? Because I always say, Z is a terrible model to follow because what Z has done is take 10 years of broadcasting experience from the early times when I imagine you were doing like school games to the point where you're broadcasting on ESPN, right? And apply all of that and what he's learned to YouTube. And obviously that was a process in itself, right? Becoming a YouTuber, becoming a Twitch streamer, and transferring those skills across. But then once you did, you had what I consider to be a huge advantage, like a self-grown advantage, right? It's not a negative on you at all. It's a positive of being able to apply it. How much of an advantage do you think that gave you in this space?
I have... God, I am so self-conscious about sounding overconfident or cocky.
That's American.
I guess, but that's the thing is I've always been very sensitive to that. I don't know exactly. I'm sure there was some jarring experience when I was 8 years old. I bragged about something and the girl that I liked thought I was annoying, and then that ever since I've been so worried about coming off as overconfident or something. So you just kind of keep these sorts of determined thoughts buried inside. It's when I'm talking about the fact that like, yeah, I want 5 houses. And somebody asked me in a different podcast, so like, what do you want to be? I'm like, I want to be the biggest YouTuber in the world. I don't know how I'm supposed to get there. I have no idea. But if that's not your goal, what are you doing? That's kind of always the way that my brain has worked. And so I need you to remind me of the question because I was about to get super distracted, pulled my brain out of it, and now don't remember what you asked.
It was a case of how much of an advantage was having this background in broadcasting to what you do now compared to someone that is starting from fresh. And that's the thing, right? Because no one sees that. This is a common thing people say, right? No one sees the journey to get to the point in which they are, right? Where we can sit here as people with over 90,000 subscribers just these days. Blimey, I'll take it. Like over 90,000 subscribers that have like thousands of people watch us on Twitch and things like this, and think, well, they're just there. Like the journey before that was irrelevant, and you've like fast tracked your way there. And I think that was your big strength, is that you've been able to take what you've learned and fast track yourself to that position. And how? So the question was, how do you think that's benefited you compared to someone that's starting fresh?
I think that it's less the actual sports broadcasting, and just that from the time that I was very young, I have had. For my mom says it's a gift. It's not really. But but this is why I was going on that tangent to like deaden the blow of what I'm going to say. I'm not good at math, right? I am very good in front of people.
Yeah.
And not even in a social setting. I'm kind of shy in social settings. I can be awkward sometimes, but like if you put me on a stage, I shine. So
you essentially had the ability to, through doing the broadcast stuff, you had the ability to grow your own charisma to a level at which that when you appear in front of anybody, you can be easily identifiable to someone that they would enjoy watching.
I am more comfortable on stream in front of 1,200 people than I am texting my friend to figure out what they're doing this weekend.
Yeah, you are the worst planner I've ever come across. That's one thing people will not know about you, because we do a podcast, we do things like this. This in itself has taken like 5 months to get to the point of actually getting there. We're both sort of in a similar boat. But no, I think it's fascinating, and I think that drive that you've got, I think you talked about it you went on Mr. Diz's podcast, which we've both done, and you talked about how the first conversation we had was something where like I saw something in you that I wanted to work with, and it was the drive that has led you to become the channel that you are, and the personality that you are, and the person that you are. Like I like working with people that are ambitious and want to be more, and we've had conversations privately about being bigger than the seed of our parts, etc., right? Things like that. And yeah, I think it's sick. I think what you've done in the community is show people there are other ways, and I think that was really important for a community that basically felt the same across it, right? And I'm a factor to that. I'm more than aware of that. And again, we've talked privately about the struggles I've had with wanting to break out of the mold that I'm sort of stuck in. The irony being that we've just done a video on your channel where we talk about a save that I am deeply entrenched in and can't get out of right now. And my channel is almost like a metaphor for that a little bit. But that's not to say I don't enjoy it. That there's two sides of it, right? There's this like knowing that you want to be more and want to be bigger and better at the same time, being comfortable. And I think for a lot of people, like, so you have this desire to be the best. And I think, well, I certainly have that and have had that for a long time. There's also like this other part of me that is Ellie and Doug and a family and a future, and then what I leave for them. And
you're
right.
But
I think that came with age. I don't think I necessarily had that the entire time, but I certainly felt like it shifted slightly to where I wanted to be and how I wanted to achieve it. So, and you're certainly on this. You're still on like this driven path, which is I will do it, which is sick.
I am. That's probably the main crux of my concern, of my obsession with success, is I become terrified of, and this isn't just like a relationship thing, I'm talking about like contracts for rent in apartments, or it took me almost a year to convince myself to go to Syracuse to get a master's degree because I was so worried. I'm like, look, if the streaming thing takes off, like I don't want to be locked up there for, like up there for a year and not be able to do it, which of course is where I am. But I intentionally keep my path open. And I'm not saying that this is the right thing to do. I'm just kind of saying that that's what I do.
This is your thing. This is the way you want to do it, right? And no one's going to stop you from doing that.
And so I keep my path open and keep that kind of arm's length from anything that's going to tie me to a particular location, tie me to a particular, like, I need to make this much money, right? In order to, Doug, for example, like,
yeah.
So I just kind of keep that path clear so that I don't know how long I'm going to do that. Right, or if I'm ever going to get to a point where I can get complacent a little bit and be like, yeah, let's, do like the family thing. Maybe it's just meeting a girl that hits me over the head and it's just like, shut up. But I feel like, it can conceivably happen. But typically that hasn't happened. And I've just kind of kept the path clear for me to keep pursuing all of these different dreams. But I want to go back because we're really going here on the Football Manager thing. If there's one more person that sends me a message and it's like, hey, like, can you check out my YouTube channel? What do you think of it? And they're doing a Let's Play with 50 subscribers or something, which, congratulations. I mean, any subscribe. I'm talking to you. Like, any subscribe, like, you always have to remind yourself that any person that subscribes to watch you is a success, right? That's a success. But if you send me a link to your channel, and you are doing a Let's Play, and you have 50 subscribers, and you're going, why am I not growing? Then you've already lost. Like, it's already, that's not it. Let's Plays are YouTube. If you are not Ben, because Ben can make a very good, like you can make a very good living with a devoted following doing a Let's Play. And it will not get old for a lot of the people watching it. Yeah. But the problem with Let's Plays is that they don't work with like the YouTube algorithm anymore.
And algorithm is your middle name, as most people will have seen by now. You're crushing that side of it. But no, it
still mystifies me sometimes.
I think people look at us, right, as very contrasting figures and think that there is like this inbuilt rivalry that exists. And I think there probably is, like, to a degree. But it's not. But I don't want to. I'm the sort of person, I don't want to have success at the detriment of you, right? So what I'm doing, and the way in which we spoke when we very first spoke, that people will not have seen that conversation because it was a private conversation on Discord. But we had this idea of like, oh, okay, we both want different things, but our paths to getting there are going to be very different. Like, and we want the same thing, sorry, and our path is going to be different to get there. But ultimately, I think we realized in that conversation, it was like, it'll be quicker for both of us if we work together. And I think through doing showdowns and through having conversations and doing a podcast, right, and doing content together, that we've both seen benefits to that. I hope I don't, because again, you're this like driven guy that sometimes I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know if you look at it like that. If you look at it as like, I've needed these guys, or your attitude is, oh, I could have done it without these guys. I'm curious to that.
It's accelerant, right? There's not like, I am aware that the next big step that my YouTube channel takes is when I get a text on Twitter from like Antoine Griezmann, who said, and I'm serious, like this.
No, you're right. Get me the showdown. Like,
exactly. Well,
someone said to me once, I don't know if you were in that conversation. Someone said, "Who would you want in the showdown?" I went, Griezmann. Like, what a cool step that would be to have someone like him that is like a fanatic of football manager. But yeah, go on. Sorry.
And it works essentially the same way in my personal channel sense, is that I have now positioned myself as essentially the premier Football Manager tutorial maker, right? And I work hard to earn that title, right? But on YouTube, because Jack is mainly doing Let's Plays, right? And FM Scout is just FM scouting over in the corner somewhere. Which is to say they do, I would say, probably inarguably lower quality videos than we do. They do some helpful stuff, but I basically started doing what I did because I looked at what FM Scout was doing as essentially the tutorial maker on Football Manager and said, I think we can do better than that.
Yeah.
And subsequently the impact I've had is a lot of people have upped their game. They've gotten better since I started going. And I think a lot of people have.
I think from my position with someone like you was, I'm going to throw as much fuel on that fire as I can. And like, but it was good fire. It was we needed the warmth. Like it was a destructive fire. But that was my attitude with you. I thought this is someone that in a year, I remember talking to other people about it and saying he will be the biggest creator in a year. Like watch. And I knew that was like, again, to the quote unquote detriment of someone like me and my position. But I don't see it like that at all. Like I'm seeing it as someone that I want to be in bed with Zealand, not literally, but metaphorically. And yeah, I hope you found your relationship with me and your friendship with me as beneficial as you have, like personally and professionally. Because I certainly feel like that with you.
Yeah, no, look, it's been beneficial. I don't have some secret agenda in the back of my mind where I'm like, no. I'm doing this as some sort of like favor to them. Like, I am aware of and thankful for the fact that all of this has started at the kind of the time where I burst onto the scene, and it's just accelerant back to what's the next big step for the YouTube channel? It's getting either huge. It doesn't have to be a footballer or a soccer player. It can be, I don't know, Tom Hanks starts playing Football Manager and then I'm the person that they reach out to for that.
Yeah,
to make
to
make videos with, or I recently had the run in with like Ollie Dixon, Chris and like MD's channel, and all popping up in a video on a channel like that or something. That would be the next big step. But what was the previously big step was popping up on your channel, popping up on Jack's channel, having you guys pop up on mine, being in the showdown, and this kind of incredible amount of cross exposure, introducing yourself to all of these people that were watching your saves for years but had never heard of me.
Yeah, and that was I knew you were that accelerant for not just like our content or the showdown, but for the community and the game. And I think Football Manager will slowly realize that as well if they haven't already. But it's interesting. It's an interesting conversation, which I think people will enjoy hearing us have. Right, to the team you've got in front of you.
Right, I've been working it over like a nice piece of dough right now.
Talk me through it. What are we working with over there?
Hey, wait, you're competing against this. Why would I tell you
just the players you've drafted. I just want to know how you're setting up.
The starting 11. The starting 11 is going to be, we got Memo Ochoa, who's in goal. And then we have Serginho Dest, Aaron Long, formerly known as Shane Long, Matt Miazga, and Alphonso Davies. The fullbacks are really good. Dest and Davies is a really good combo. Those are, starting fullbacks at 2 top 10 clubs in the world, probably top 5 clubs in the world, which is a good way to go. Go CONCACAF. The midfields, Hector Herrera, Weston McKennie, Brian Ruiz, Natiba Hutchinson in some assemblage, which is solid. Now, Hutchinson and Ruiz are they're on AARP benefits, right? They're getting Medicare, those are both American jokes, I think, but they're very old. And so we're going to need some cover for one of those guys, if that is the case. Then Leon Bailey and Jesus Corona is just a wonderful wing combination I think he'll have trouble with.
Okay.
And Mariano and Jonathan David are very good strikers. So I think I have good options up front too. Particularly Mariano. I mean, the guy plays for Real Madrid. He doesn't really play for them, but Dominican Republic's best ever player. So
okay. It's a good side. We'll see how we do against it. Over on my side, we've got Jesus Navas in goal, Ayun and Gallardo at either end of the fullback positions. We've got Ayala and Brooks at the centre. John Brooks, I'm excited to see how he gets on in this side. Naturally left-sided as well. Nice. At midfield of your main guy, Michael Bradley, alongside Guardado. I think that's how you say it, right? Guardado, who can play Guardado. Yeah, he can play so many different positions. I feel like he's been around forever. He's like a Football Manager sort of hero, champion.
Forever.
Giovanni Reina sitting just in front. I mean, he's going to be dangerous. And you mentioned your wing combination. I've got Lozano and Pulisic, so yeah, I'm pretty happy. Is it said Pulisic, by the way? Pulisic?
Yeah, it's Pulisic. Now Pulisic. Everybody just kind of wings it. They're the people that stick with the Croatian thing. But like, it's one of those things where, I mean, he grew up in the United States. His grandfather was Croatian. And I think if you go back to third generation in the United States, something like 45% of people back to their grandparents are not from the United States. So that's just the statement to the people that come into the chat trying to trigger me with the Pulisic's not American. Like,
clearly doesn't work. And I've got Jimenez up front. Raul Jimenez.
I figured I would use this platform to offer my defense for that.
That was good. It was good. My bench is, I've got Josie Altidore on the bench, so look out. And Carlos Vela, which you could be slightly more afraid of. Right then, let's get into it then. If you beat me, I have to send you a t-shirt that says I played Football Manager, Dr. Benji draft mode and won. Something like that.
I am already excited about the prospect of wearing that t-shirt.
I thought you were going to say, I've already beat you at draft mode, but thankfully you didn't. Our record against each other is actually very similar, I suspect. If we looked at all the history of it, I reckon we've got a very, very evenly matched record.
Probably, yeah. I would be willing to wager that's the case, yes.
I would also wager I'm probably slightly ahead, but only just.
Probably because those first 4 showdowns, I don't think the first like couple showdowns, I don't think I ever beat you. No, you beat me every time.
I was in your head in those showdowns. There were some very good matches.
We got through it. All right, we're in the game. I just set up my set pieces real quick. That's what was taking the time.
I've not set up my set piece. Right, hang on a minute. See, this is classic Dr. Benji and classic Zealand. Sorry, I'll do it very quickly. I'll just plug in Lelujo. It's fine. Fair. Okay. If they work,
I keep reminding you of things. I reminded you. I'm not helping my own case with I'm running my mouth.
No, it's good. Do you know what? It's because you're such a loving guy. He's like such a helpful friend.
Yeah.
Definitely. I realised that I've got Kev's old tactics on, so long throws still exist. So we'll just remove those and we'll continue. Right then, this is going to be
long throws. Been axe murdered recently.
This is I'm massively responsible for that.
No, you are tremendous. You put the numbers together from the showdown and like posted them publicly, and you're like, "Look, this is how many long throws were scored."
They're not great, but the guys at SI were really good about it. So shout out to Nick Madden and those guys for working through them and making them a bit more balanced. 100%. So it's really good.
100%.
If you stick it on showdown highlights, so key highlights and the rest of it, and we're good to go.
Got it.
You've recently moved into the world of podcasting. And this brings us on to the nice segue of the fact that we do a podcast together. With all the things you've got right now, with your YouTube channel, with your broadcasting, with your university stuff, obviously your live streaming, why on earth did you decide to do like 4 podcasts?
I really, really, really hate free time. But then I'm also I'm really very lazy. So it's this constant war between... Like, if I have a day where I don't do anything, I'm like, wow, you really should have done something today. But on the flip side of that, oops, phone call. It's Memo Ochoa telling me he's not going to save this shot. Oh, it's a wonderful moment.
Include it, Raul Jimenez. Now we're talking. Now we're talking. Answer that. Tell him I've scored. Wonderful.
That was off my long throw, right?
It wasn't. This is not a good long throw. I mean, nice set pieces, Z. Nice set pieces, right? Michael Bradley, the hero that he is, to Raul Jimenez. And I like the fact you've gone for the blue branding, and I've gone for we've branded this beautifully. It's gone very well. It's 1-0. And tell them I said hi, whoever that was. that was enjoyable.
My mother. Was
it really? Could have put her on. We love your mom.
She's calling about taxes, I think. So.
Oh, wonderful. Okay,
We'll leave that for later. No, I clutch to these long throws. Like I just cling to them like they're still good, but honestly, the only thing they're good for are counters now.
Yeah, they're not good. Anyway, podcasts. Why so many?
I just don't know how to. Because if I'm going to do it, I might as well do all the podcasts that I want to do. But if I'm going to take the time to get into it and take the time to learn how to let's go. Yeah, you want to talk about set pieces, Ben?
He's got his own sound effects.
Set pieces?
He's got his own sound effect. This is not common for creators to have their own sound effects that I have to listen to when we're playing.
I'm specifically rooting that through to you.
I know. Well, there we are. It's 1-1. He's back in it. Fair enough. Yeah. Great set pieces.
This match is just a tale of my set pieces at the moment.
Yeah.
But that's why I made 4. Like, I made the history one just because it's something I knew I'd be good at. I would be annoyed with myself if I didn't do it, because I know that it's something I'd really enjoy.
Yeah.
And then I'd be good at doing.
That's totally fair. What's just gone on? Play the thing. I mean, is this real life?
Or is it just fantasy?
Is this real? I'm furious. Is how I feel about everything. I've not come here for this.
Let's go.
Send me your address. That's t-shirts headed on over to the United States. All right, well, fair enough. Jay Rayner's letting me down. That's your fault. I've been baiting and picking him. So.
That was John Brooks getting worked in the corner there by Mariano, who, again, can't stress it enough, Dominican Republic national.
Yeah. Oh, you're using a system that I've seen you use before. No, I'm at that weird point of... Oh, not another corner. What are we doing? Okay.
Miazga. Matt Miazga produced perhaps the greatest moment of smack talk in the history of CONCACAF, by the way.
Really?
I don't know if you're aware of, yeah.
No, I'm absolutely not aware of it.
So he was defending Diego Lainez, right? Every match, but no.
Go on, boys.
Yeah,
it's gotta be. Is it on?
On.
Come on, now we're talking. Play the sound effect again.
Just because it's Christian.
Just because it's Christian. Wonderful scenes of raw emotion. Thank you very much. Yeah, we've scored that. 2-2.
Yeah, so what a match, by the way. Great clearance by Serginho. This is so unlucky.
I mean, that's just poor goalkeeping. So.
Thank you. A memo is pretty hit or miss.
Right, no, sorry, you were telling me the story. Go on.
Right, Miazga's defending Lainez. And, Lainez is a winger, Miazga's a center back. It's a strong challenge. Lainez gets up and he's complaining to the ref. And then he starts yelling. Who knows what they're yelling at each other. Starts yelling at Miazga. And the thing about this is Miazga's like 6'5". I mean, he's a big dude. And Lainez is really short. And so Miazga, while they're just talking smack, like as the referee's kind of coming over to break it up, they're chest to chest. They're in one of those things. Miazga just walks over to him and puts his hand out and just like lowers it to the top of Lainez's head.
Oh, I've seen it. I have seen it.
Yeah. It turned into a meme for a while. And I think he got a yellow for it. It was... And the entire country of Mexico was up in arms for this blatant display of I don't know, but it's one of those things where if your team's doing it, you're kind of down for it.
It's fantastic. That level of what is sort of neatly known as shithousery is. I'm infuriated.
We don't deserve this, by the way.
I don't know what's going on. It's just a goal fest.
Yes.
This feels like this is the CONCACAF All-Star game that I don't think exists, but we have now created. This is what it would be like. And I've just realized this is definitely the longest episode of Draft Force we've ever had. But it's been a bit more podcasty. I don't know, comment section. Have we enjoyed this type of thing? If we have, let me know. I don't enjoy losing 3-2, so let's have this.
We have 3 shots on target and 3 goals. I won't pretend that we... you had a really good spell of play after your second goal. That's kind of... Well, you also had... Was it 3 shots? Or 2 or 3 shots of high XG in that Pulisic goal, so that might have skewed things a little bit. Because I don't remember you having too many more highlights than...
Yeah, sure.
I'm thinking out loud.
I know. I've got a bit of time, but I'll wrap this up with a question. A lot of people ask you. I know you've answered a lot, but I think at some point you will have to delve into. I'm curious to see what you do when you do. Is when are you going to do a Let's Play? Short term. I think you could do a short term Let's Play on YouTube.
The honest to goodness truth is I don't have the time. That's not a bad answer. It's not a cop out answer. It's not a bad answer. I have gone over on the Zealand podcast what a normal day looks like for me.
Yeah.
And so it is hard, I think, for a lot of people to process.
Right now though, that's right now. I'm talking about like the release of the new game.
Right. Here's the thing.
They do very well around then.
Even all the way to August, I'll be working the Olympics. That's 12 hours a day.
Wow.
And I'll be doing streams and YouTube videos around the 12 hours a day for the Olympics. And so at what point does my life become not insane to the point that I can reliably do a Let's Play every day and set up the mechanic to do a Let's Play on YouTube when I already feel like I'm doing a Let's Play on Twitch, but I know Twitch isn't for everybody. I think what is more likely is that I bring in another editor who edits down the streams and essentially turns the streams into a Let's Play.
I think at the start of the new game, I think that's the most logical step for you. My content will change a lot. I think we may have talked about this a little bit. My content will change a lot going into the new game, which will be interesting. I'll be doing lots of different things, and it will start for the Euros actually, in an exclusive. But yeah, what's happening here? Are you doing changes?
I'm making a change.
Of course you are. I actually like the fact that you've been allowed to do that more in showdowns. So for those that haven't seen the showdowns, Z is someone that is like, you're a micromanager. Not just in your own stage, but in the showdowns as well, which then impacts other people, which is why people get so irate about it. But I was very keen to change the narrative of that for you, really. That, like, if you're making changes, I want people to talk about that, and I want the analytical side of Football Manager to be discussed in that. And we've got away from the fact that he's paused again, and that's annoying. But fine. Go on, Christian, do something. But I think, like, I think you've changed the way. Like, I talked about this on my stream recently, that you've begun with the type of content you do on your channel, you've begun to sort of gamify Football Manager a lot more, which I don't know if I personally like. Do you think you're doing that a little bit? In that you're
what do you mean by gamify?
In that you are going into the inner workings of Football Manager and you are running tests to discover things that are under the hood, essentially, about the game. And that takes away the element of random in Football Manager if you can try and find the science behind it, which is something no one's ever done before, and it's interesting because it's affecting the way people then play the game and talk about the game, which is then affecting my comment sections. What a save!
Oh, that would have been what a moment for Bron. Oh yes!
Oh, he's such a good goalkeeper.
That's true. I forgot you had Navas. Yeah, it's like the cheat code in CONCACAF. The only reason Costa Rica isn't in anything anymore. I'm aware of, I talk about this a lot actually, is the beauty of Football Manager is that you don't actually know how the match engine works. Yeah. Like, I can run these tests about player attributes, but there's always a million different people that come in and say, like, hey, you know, this is an outlier in this test, and the variability is too high for it to be like this completely convincing, like, well, strength is not guaranteed to be the best thing. It just, you know, we basically did 10 simulations with every attribute at 20 and everything else at 10 and strength 1. Like, okay, what does that tell us? I don't know, but it's interesting. That's basically what I ended up saying in those videos. So I have gamified it more, but I am still aware of the fact, and I don't think you can actually get to a point where you turn FM into an esport where, like, you can actually look at, because what Football Manager does to me, better than anything else, better than FIFA Career Mode, obviously, and better than any other simulation or management game that I've ever seen, I'll get that out of there, is it preserves the beauty of the game. That kind of, like, look, I had a cup match. Oh, come on, Weston. No. Do it to him.
Oh, fine. Nah, we're fine.
Kaler's saving that.
We're composed at 3-2 down.
Yeah. It like, I had one of those grayed out players. Both of my goalkeepers got hurt. I couldn't play somebody in this cup match, this league cup match. And so I put in this grayed out goalkeeper who, by all objective measure, should suck. We should lose. And it goes to penalties with a grayed out goalkeeper. Right. And he saves one. But, like, there is nothing in the way that the match engine works.
No.
Where this guy, who is literally a half Silver Star goalkeeper from Libya, saves this penalty. But he does. Right? And there's a beauty in the game in real life, because that happened in the MLS too. Also, we're, like, about to win this game, which is awesome. In the MLS, there was a playoff match where the goalkeeper got... let's go.
Aaron Long.
It's Shane Long!
Of all the people... For secret context, he referred to Aaron Long as Shane Long on the podcast we do. And now, of all the people, of all the times...
He's a US starting center back right now.
That's not a goal by him. I'm not having it. Whatever, it's fine. I've been dominated as well. I don't know what happened. What changed?
Second half, we just went off.
I'll be analysing your footage. I don't like to watch this, but I have to learn. So, yeah, well done. You've won the fantasy draft competition of Draft Wars. Congratulations.
Sweet retribution.
Clearly, what we've shown is that gamifying it proves it works, viewers. So well done to Z. Do you want to finish off your answers to that, or do you feel?
The point. I think the point is, as much as I attempt to gamify it, because nobody's ever done that before, and I feel it's a space that a lot of people are interested in. You know, how effective is professionalism with developing players? Well, look, even in that test that I brought in that statistician to do about player development, there's still so many variables, and like when the coach plays the player, what tactic the coach is playing the player in, when the coach loans the player out, like all these different variables that work into us building this very rough model that says if you have higher professionalism, it makes you this much more effective than if you have higher ambition. Or there's still a lot of variables in there and inside the matches themselves. Like, as much as I do try to gamify it out of sheer interest in the topic, I'm not even really scared of ruining the game, because I do feel like if you gamify it all the way, you ruin the game.
Yeah.
But I'm not scared of ruining the game, because I don't think it's possible, because it's so hidden. Like, you don't know how the match engine works. You don't see the code. And as long as that's the case, the magic of the game and the sport itself is preserved.
And ultimately, it's up to Football Manager and Sports Interactive to make those adapt. Like, it's up to them to adapt it, right? I think we could do a whole other podcast about online Football Manager, but we'll save that for another time. Thank you for coming on, Z. I really appreciate it. If you were to sum up your content for the viewers of this channel in a sentence, what would you say? I make videos that are interesting to me and hopefully interesting to you, whether that's a tutorial about how to help your players not get injured, which my editor Reese refers to as classic Zealand videos. Like, you sit down and you go over for 15 minutes, like, how to do this one thing. And then there are the untraditional Zealand videos where something that's interesting to me, I like when Ollie Dixon did a Football Manager save, I just sat down and watched him play it and just talked about like what he was doing in the different, and it was funny too, obviously, because he's a funny guy. So I just do stuff that's interesting to me. And hopefully it's interesting to you guys too. Usually around football, soccer, Football Manager, I try and stay in my lane. Yeah. I hope long sentence that, wasn't it, yours?
Yeah. I have a long. That's actually exactly what it says on my business card. It's like the size of a loose leaf piece of paper. There's a lot of commas there. A lot of commas. Thanks, Z. If you enjoyed the video, of course, do make sure you subscribe. We're going to be a lot more of draft modes or draft wars against other creators as well. If you've got any suggestions for who you'd like to see, Ollie Dixon, if you're brave enough, mate, I'm ready. Z's friend Ollie Dixon, as I've got to refer to him now. We go for it. If you want to come on, we'll have a chat. Hopefully, if you enjoyed sort of the more podcasty way we've done this, and there'll be a whole lot more coming soon. So take care of yourselves. Z, thank you once again. King of CONCACAF, right here. Makes me sick in my mouth. You should have won it, really. Take care. We'll see you again soon. Wave Z. We've got a thing of waving here, so just pull out the wave.